Good afternoon, friends. Welcome to Jeannie's Journey. Today we are in Leviticus 24, and I knew that I was coming to an end to Leviticus, and it's coming up fast. I think I have 2 or 3 more chapters after this, and it was just like how I felt when I ended Genesis, when I ended Exodus, and now that I'm getting close to the end of Leviticus and I ended Job for the 500th time. It's almost like saying goodbye to an old friend. Like they have to go back home. They have to go out of town and go home. And I don't know why it feels like that, but it does. I'm like, oh gosh, I'm almost through Leviticus. But I do want to say that I'm almost through Leviticus, but I am so looking forward to Numbers, which is the next chapter. Because Leviticus is mostly about the laws. The entire book is kind of about the laws, what God expected you to do, the different processes they had to go through in order to be clean or had to have their sins forgiven, how they should live, that kind of thing. And sorry, I'm trying to move the chair back. Anyway, and it also, there's like maybe 2 so far that I've run up on where it's a little bit of story of what actually happened when something happened, but mostly it is about the laws. But apparently Numbers is going to be while the Israelites were in the wilderness, I believe. So I'm super excited, about that. With that being said, wanted to reiterate, I am not a Bible scholar. I'm not a pastor, preacher, whatever. I am just a normal human being, I think. I'm meaning normal. I am a human being. But I'm just a normal, they say middle, but really I'm on poverty level. But middle class person, poverty level person. And I just want to share with you how God has worked in my life, because life is not always unicorns and rainbows. Tough stuff happens as you get older. Usually it's when you're older and stuff starts happening, but sometimes, I don't really feel that I'm old, even though my son tells me I'm old. And he's 36. But stuff happens, and it's stuff that we can't control, but it affects us as well. So here we go, Leviticus 24, and I just I'm not going to read the chapter to you. I'm not going to read the chapter to you. I'm just going to go through how I sectioned it out, and I hope that it blesses you, or maybe you get something else out of it. And I feel like that, as if you're reading the Bible, you may have a different interpretation than I do, and I think that's perfectly okay. Because for me, when I read the Bible, I ask God, show me what you're trying to tell me, or tell me what you're trying to show me, rather. Sorry. Tell me what you're trying to show, what you're giving me to view. How can I apply those to my life, and how can I apply it to my life and my character, my person, as going forward. So, verses 1 through 4. It is about the menorah. So the menorah was the lampstand, okay? And it was inside the actual tent of meeting. It wasn't where the ark was, but there's a couple pieces of holy furniture before it got to the curtain to go to the ark. So the menorah is one of them. And so the people brought the oil, fine oil, of pressed olives. Now, I have known about olive oil for quite some time. I've used it forever, I feel like. But as I was reading this today, I was like, I love olives. I've eaten olives. And when I eat an olive, I don't really taste oil, if that makes sense. I don't taste oil. So I'm like, that must have been some really hard work to actually press and crush olives in oil to get the good stuff, in order to get the oil out. And they didn't have the machines like we have today. This was like all hand stuff. So that was a lot of hard work. And that's what God expects us to do. He expects us to put everything into everything that we do. But, moving on. The priest maintained the lamp. It was to be left burning continuously. It was to never, ever, ever go out. And it was to remind Israel that God was among them continually. Jesus is the menorah. He didn't simply bring the light. Jesus is the light. In him was life, and that life was the light of men. John 1:4-5. And because Christ lives in us, he lives in me, he lives in you. Matthew 5:14-16 calls us to let our light shine before others. So I ask myself, is my life shining? Is my life helping people see Jesus? Because that's what I want. So I hope so. What steps am I going to take for the next generation of believers? And I got that next generation of believers from my pastor from yesterday's service. So what steps am I going to take? Now for me, I have it a little bit easier. I don't know what Georgia's going to do, or Austin or Ethan. I have a little bit easy because I am a teacher. So what kind of role model am I going to be for them? Because God's desire has and still is today, God doesn't change, to guide us, to reveal truth, to dwell with us, and to shine through us so others may find him. We are called to walk as children of light. Ephesians 5:8. Then it talks about the bread. So in verses 5-8, we got the bread. So every Sabbath, hold on just a minute because this was a light colored pen. Sorry, I'm not prepared. Okay, so every Sabbath, 12 fresh loaves of bread were placed on the showbread table. This was another piece of holy furniture in the sanctuary representing the 12 tribes of Israel. What they would do is every Sabbath they bring 12 more, the people would bring 12 more loaves. So the bread that was removed, that was to feed the priests and their families. So the Israelites supplied the flour, and that was the food for the priests. So their worship became someone else's provision. And just as this bread had to be fresh to sustain the priest, Jesus eternally sustains me. Jesus came to me when I was spiritually hungry. I was literally just starving to death. I was in such despair. And again, these are reflection notes I'm given to Georgia, so I'm going to share those with you as well. He came to you, Georgia, in a way that you wouldn't be afraid. He told you at 3 years old, your daddy is going to be okay. And then she told me. And of course, because I'm nosy, I asked her what he looked like. And how she described him was that he had, at 3 years old, he had on a long pink curtain dress. And of course, he had on glasses like Mommy and Daddy and Gigi wears. So she wouldn't be afraid. And I truly believe kids are more able to actually see and hear the whispers of God better than adults, because by the time we've become an adult, we are polluted. We are polluted with everything that we've done, everything that we've seen, everything that other people have done. So there's no way you can tell me that she didn't see that. She didn't see Jesus. You can't tell me that. Nope. So in John 6:35, Jesus says, I am the bread of life. Whoever comes to me shall not hunger. And over that Christmas, really, I didn't go to him. Jesus was coming to me. I was like, where it talks about the 99 sheep, I was that one, and I was in such despair. I was so depressed and just in that pit. And y'all, I'm telling you, I didn't see a cloud of smoke. I didn't hear whispers or anything like that, but I felt it. He came to me and said, we're not doing this anymore. No, ma'am. You need to come up out of that pit. And he held me. He held me. And I slowly, it was a process, getting better. But as the people provided the bread for the priest, our generosity, like today, our generosity often becomes someone else's provision. And our generosity doesn't necessarily have to become money, because I'm going to go ahead and tell you I don't have any money. But whatever it is that you can supply for God, for God's children, for the people of your community or whatever, do it 100%. So am I feeding my soul on His Word and His presence each day? And I'm actually asking Georgia this. And am I becoming a source of blessing and encouragement to others? Because that's what God desires. That's His light. God is the source of all my blessings. Every last one of them. 10 through 16 is the sin of blasphemy. So in this section, a man gets into a fight in the camp. They use the word strove, which means fight. His mother was an Israelite and his father was Egyptian. And blasphemies the name of the Lord with a curse. Don't know what he said, but whatever it was, he blasphemies the name of the Lord. The Lord tells Moses he must be stoned outside of camp, because God protects the holiness of His name. We are not to use it casually, loosely, disrespectfully. When you blaspheme, you actually curse God Himself. Some examples include God's name as a curse word, mocking Jesus or the cross. Anything that belittles God's holiness, or claiming that God made you do something that was clearly sinful and clearly a selfish desire. Oh, God made me do it. God said it was okay. No. That's blasphemy. So, God's name is His character. He demands reverence because He is holy. Our words should always show respect for God. And for Georgia, I said don't use it in slang. A lot of kids today use God. They'll say, on God, or maybe use a cuss word or whatever. We got to raise our children. We got to be that role model. And I truly believe that. We've got to be the role model for the ones coming up today, this generation. So 17 to 23 is the end of the chapter, and it's talking about justice without revenge. God is establishing laws in this section concerning murder, injury, and restitution. This is where that famous phrase comes from, eye for eye and tooth for tooth. This existed so that people would not take vengeance to the extreme. God was making justice fair and not excessive. And I have in here for Georgia, I didn't write it all out. I said read Romans 12, 17 through 21. So I am going to read that. Okay. 12, 17 through 21. All right, here we go. Do not repay anyone evil for evil. Be careful to do what is right in the eyes of everyone. If it is possible, as far as it depends on you, live at peace with everyone. Do not take revenge, my dear friends, but leave room for God's wrath, for it is written, it is mine to avenge. I will repay, says the Lord. On the contrary, if your enemy is hungry, feed him. If he is thirsty, give him something to drink. In doing this, you will heap burning coals on the head. You will heap burning coals on his head. Do not be overcome by evil, but overcome evil with good. So Jesus calls his followers away from personal retaliation. Overcome evil with good. God's justice is never cruel, but it is balanced with mercy, rather than revenge fueled by anger or hatred. So my reflection for me, because again, I want to share my story with you, and my study has evolved again. And so I started putting my reflections in here for Georgia to have. So she will always have them. She will always have me here. How does my life reflect Christ? Well, I spend time in God's Word just about every morning. When I serve, I give it my best as a 56-year-old woman can give. I started doing these videos because it was like, Moses. I was just talking to my pastor earlier, and it was like, we don't want to talk about the hard stuff. And there are hard things that people go through, myself included. I'm going to get this dog. Moses, quit. And we don't want to talk about the hard stuff. We just say it to someone, I'm sorry, or I'm praying for you, and that's it. And that's okay, because ultimately they can't help you. They can pray for you, that's help. But what I mean is they can't fix it. Only God can fix it. I'm creating this Bible for her. Oh, that's why I started these videos. So there'll be a digital copy. I don't know what it's going to be like when I'm gone. But anyway, so it's written and I'm saying it as well. Anyway, so I'm creating these Bibles for my grandchildren. And y'all, that takes some time. It does. But anyway, I love doing it. I support your daddy and your mommy and your families through specifically her father's treatments. That's really, really harsh. And I have never given up hope for your Uncle Alex. However, sometimes my sadness, my fear, my anxiety will cast a shadow over my many blessings. There are times when my heart naturally dwells on the weight of how I think my life should be. But I know Jesus is with me. And he always calls me back into his arms, into his loving arms. He's catching every tear that I shed. And one day, I don't know when because I'm not a prophet, but one day I know anything that was wrong that happened in my life is going to be made right. I know this. And sometimes my to-do list, including my love for Bible study, replaces just enjoying time with God, just sitting still. I'll get caught up on this hamster wheel, and that's something Rob would always say, Jeannie, get off that hamster wheel, because I do that. It replaces just enjoying time with God and others. I become Martha, and sometimes I just need to be Mary. Just to sit at his feet and enjoy my many blessings. Because God's like, Jeannie, look at all this that you have. Look at everything that I have given to you. Stop a minute. Slow down. Enjoy it. Enjoy it with people you love. Enjoy it with people you care about. Spend some time with them. I don't have to spend all day, every day in here, even though sometimes I like to. And I may have to admit, I've spent, 4 or 5 hours now that I've been off for summer. Just enjoy it. Goodness. Oh my goodness. Just enjoy me. That's what God is telling me. Just enjoy me. Goodness heavens to Betsy Moses. So, Leviticus 24 talks about like 4 unrelated objects. We've got the lampstand, we've got the bread, we've got blasphemy, and then we've got justice. So they're way far apart. However, to me, this reveals how God desires his people to continually reflect his light. So what are we doing to prepare for the next generation? Credit goes to Pastor David. What am I doing to shine my light to others? Enjoying his presence. So, am I taking time just to be still in gratitude? That's the stuff I have to watch because I have a tendency to keep running. Honoring his name at all times. So, am I treating his name with reverence? And in my worship, my serving, my work, is it 100% every time? And practice his judgments. So for me, I'm just leaving judgment to God, ultimately, because He is the authority over every single thing in my life. Everything in my life. It's His. So I hope the rest of your day is wonderful and not so hot. Maybe stay inside. I don't know. But I will see you guys later. Peace and blessings. I love you. Bye.